I have lost my camera. Hold on, let me find my camera. Let me see what I can do here. I don't know where my face is. I mean, I think it's right here. But let's see. Aha! I found my face. It's not much of a face, but it is mine. It's the one I'm stuck with. Hey, Salty, how are you? Yeah, it was a good stream. We had a good one when we started Bone Shooter, but not so much anymore. Did Jojo Mart go to bed that fast, Salty? Hey, Jelly Gato. All the cool kids are here. That boy Nate. Jelly, Bone Shooter, Salty. Dang. Did you get ready for bed too, Salty? Are you in bed already so fast? Jelly, are you still at work or did you make it home? I got to get my emotes going, guys. I'm waiting for somebody. You are in bed. Good. Let's do. You're working from home today and tomorrow. Woot, 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 woot. If I'd have known that, Jelly, we could have hung out when I was in the shop. We could have hung out. I'm excited that I'm going to go to bed soon. I was pooped today. Good. All right. Well, everybody get ready for bed. Jelly, get in bed. Go to bed right now. Salty, you should already be there. Yeah. I'll see what's going on. I might be going to Salty's tomorrow. We're kind of playing that by ear. But I'll be back tomorrow night. We've got to do the stream tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. All right, cool. I have looked us through some of the Mother Goose tales and figured we would try a couple tonight. Remember, tomorrow at 8 p.m., I will give her all the hugs. I get handsy, though, so I'm just letting you know. It's probably going to get all gropey. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock EST, we're going to be doing the second half of the Metamorphosis and finishing that up. She does love all the hugs. And tonight, I figured we would read at least one. We would start with Bluebeard. See how it goes. The rest are pretty weird. And then right after Bluebeard, we're going to be doing... I have no idea, Jelly. I have no idea. I just picked it out. So we're going to see. And if I have the power and energy, that we're going to do Fairy afterward. That was all it was called. So let's see how it goes. Bluebeard. The Tales of Mother Goose is first collected by Charles Perrault in 1696. It is. Okay. Oh. Let's check out what else I set up last night. Words on stream. Let's see if it loads up. If not, I might have to go into over here. Let us see. Something's different. Something's weird. Something's strange. Because it's coming up on my side of things. Let's see if I can fix it. Let's see if I can fix it. I may be able to. I may not. We fitting to see. Haha. All right, want to play some words on stream real quick? For some odd reason, I'm hearing that come through the wrong sound side. Ah, that's why. Let's try that there. You guys should be able to hear that now. All right, it's working for Jelly. Let's see if I can help. I agree with Vorpal, Nate. What was up with that? Why did that not work? Was that one? We're not very good at this. Aha! Jelly found one. Why can't I hear it now? Oh, you know what? Do I want that to go? We're fixing things as we go here, kids. Ah, that's why. That's what I want, though. If that works, it allows me to hear it. I don't think we succeeded. Yeah, no. Let's try again. Let's try again. How do we try again? Just do it. Restart. Let's try again. Here we go. Ooh, I got one. Bone shooter got one. Can you guys hear the sound effects on it? You're not unlocked yet, Bone Shooter. Yep. All right, we're proving that it works. That's a good thing. See how we did. See if we got 1 star. Hey, we got 2 stars. Woot woot. All right. Well, that works. So we figured out how that works. Yay! And you guys, could you guys hear the little unlocking and things on there too? Yeah. I love workout words on stream too. I agree. Yes, you could hear them. Good. All right. Well, hey, We figured that out. All right. Here are the dings. Ding dings. Dim dings. All right. Let's do some reading here. Bluebeard. Tales of Mother Goose. Charles Perrault, 1696. Once upon a time, there was a man who had fine houses, both in town and in country. A deal of silver and gold plate, carved furniture, and coaches gilded all over. But unhappily, this man had a blue beard, which made him so ugly and so terrible that all the women and girls ran away from him. One of his neighbors, a lady of quality, had 2 daughters who were perfect beauties. He asked for one of them in marriage, leaving to her the choice of which one she should bestow on him. They would neither of them have him, and they sent him backward and forward from one to the other, neither being able to make up her mind to marry a man who had a blue beard. Another thing which made them averse to him was that he had already been married several times, and nobody knew what happened to his wives. So, what we've got at first is that they're not so scared that no one knows what happened to his wives, but that he's got a blue beard. So, background music's a little loud. Okay. How's that? Let me know if that's better. I drew back the volume a little bit. I've got the desktop audio up a little high, so that might be part of it. That's better. Cool. Bluebeard could become better acquainted. Still a little bit too loud. Tiny bit too loud. Let me pull back the desktop audio altogether. Yeah, I was redlining a little bit. How's that, Salty? Bluebeard, to become better acquainted, took them with their mother and 3 or 4 of their best friends with some people. Oh, my mic is down a little bit too. Let's turn my mic up. Okay. Better. All right. Salty wants, salty gets. That's the rules. Bluebeard, to become better acquainted, took them with their mother and 3 or 4 of their best friends, with some young people of the neighborhood, to one of his country seats, where they stayed a whole week. There was nothing going on but pleasure parties, hunting, fishing, dancing, mirth, and feasting. Nobody went to bed but passed all the night playing pranks on each other. In short, everything succeeded so well that the youngest daughter began to think that the beard of the master of the house was not so very blue, and that he was a very civil gentleman. So as soon as they returned home, the marriage was concluded. About a month afterward, boy, you guys are right, it is a little loud for some reason. I'm going to turn down the headphones a little. I wonder why that changed. Who knows? Thinking now. Okay. About a month afterward, Bluebeard told us, "Hey, Carew, what's going on?" About a month afterward, Bluebeard told his wife that he was obliged to take a country journey for 6 weeks at least upon business of a great importance. He desired her to amuse herself well in his absence, to send for her friends, to take them into the country as she pleased, and live well wherever she was. "Here," said he, "are the keys to the 2 great warehouses wherein I have my best furniture. These are the room where I keep my silver and gold plate, which is not in everyday use. These open my safes, which hold my money, both gold and silver. These my casks of jewels, and this is the master key to all of my apartments. But as for this little key, it is the key of the closet at the end of the great gallery on the ground floor. Open them all, go everywhere, but as for that little closet, I forbid you to enter it, and I promise you surely that if you open it, there's nothing that you may not expect from my anger. So why did he give her the key to that if he didn't want her to open it? This seems shady. She promised to obey exactly all his orders, and he, after he embraced her, got into his coach and proceeded on his journey. Her neighbors and good friends did not stay to be sent for by the new married lady. So great was their impatience to see all the riches of her house, not daring to come while her husband was there, because of his blue beard, which frightened them. They at once ran through all the rooms, closets, and wardrobes, which were so fine and rich that each seemed to surpass all the others. They went into the warehouses where there was the best and richest furniture, and they could not sufficiently admire the number of beauty, the tapestries, beds, couches, the number and beauty of the tapestry, beds, couches, cabinets, stands, tables, and looking glasses in which you might see yourself from head to foot. Some of them were framed with glass, other with silver, plain and gilded, the most beautiful and the most magnificent ever seen. They ceased not to praise and envy the happiness of their friend, who in the meantime was not at all amused by looking upon all these rich things because of her impatience to go and open the closet on the ground floor. Her curiosity was so great that without considering how uncivil it was to leave her guest, she went down the little back staircase with such excessive haste that twice or thrice she came near to breaking her neck. Having reached the closet door, she stood still for some time, thinking of her husband's orders and considering that unhappiness might attend her if she was disobedient. But the temptation was too strong, and she could not overcome it. And she took the little key and opened the door, trembling. At first, she could not see anything plainly because the windows were shut. After some moments, she began to perceive that several dead women were scattered about the floor. These are all the wives whom Bluebeard had married and murdered, one after another because they did not obey his orders about the closet on the ground floor. She thought surely she would die for fear, and the key which she had pulled out of the lock fell out of her hand. After having somewhat recovered from the shock, she picked up the key, locked the door, and went upstairs to her chamber to compose herself. But she could not rest, so much was she frightened. Having observed that the key of the closet was stained, she tried 2 or 3 times to wipe off the stain, but the stain would not come out. In vain did she wash it, and even rub it with soap and sand. The stain still remained, for the key was a magic key, and she could never make it quite clean. When the stain was gone off from one side, it came again on the other. Bluebeard returned from his journey that same evening and said he had received letters upon the road informing him that his business, which called him away, was ended to his advantage. His wife did all she could to convince him that she was delighted at his speedy return. The next morning he asked for the keys, which she gave him, but with such trembling hand that he easily guessed what had happened. "How is it," said he, "that the key of my closet is not among the rest?" "I must certainly," said she, "have left it upstairs on the table." "Do not fail," said Bluebeard, "to bring it to me presently." After having put off doing it several times, she was forced to bring him the key. Bluebeard examined it and said to his wife, "How comes this stain upon the key?" "I do not know," cried the poor woman, paler than death. "You do not know," replied Bluebeard. "I very well know. You wish to go into the cabinet? Very well, madam, you shall go in and take your place among the ladies you saw there." She threw herself weeping at her husband's feet and begged his pardon with all signs of true repentance of her disobedience. She would have melted a rock, so beautiful in sorrow was she. But Bluebeard had a heart harder than any stone. "You must die, madam," said she, "and that at once." "Since I must die," answered she, look upon him with her eyes all bathed in tears. Give me some little time to say my prayers. I give you, replied Bluebeard, half a quarter an hour, but not one moment more. When she was alone, she called out to her sister and said to her, Sister Anne, for that was her name, go up, I beg you, to the top of the tower, and look if my brothers are not coming. They promised they would come today, and if you see them, give them a sign to make haste. Her sister Anne went up to the top of the tower, and the poor afflicted wife cried out from time to time, Anne, Sister Anne, do you see anyone coming? And Sister Anne said, I see nothing but sun, which makes dust, and the grass which looks green. In the meanwhile, Bluebeard, holding a great saber in his hand, cried to his wife as loudly as he could, Come down instantly, or I shall come up to you. One moment longer, if you please, said his wife, and then cried out very softly, Anne, Sister Anne, dost thou see anyone coming? And Sister Anne answered, I see nothing but the sun, which makes a dust, and the grass, which is green. Come down quickly, cried Bluebeard, or I will come up to you. I'm coming, said his wife, and then she cried, Anne, Sister Anne, dost not thou see anyone coming? I see, replied Sister Anne, a great dust which comes from this side. Are they my brothers? Alas, no, my sister. I see a flock of sheep. Will you not come down? Cried Bluebeard. One moment longer, said his wife, and then she cried out, Anne, Sister Anne, dost thou not see anyone coming? I see 2 horsemen, but they are yet a great way off. God be praised, they are my brothers, replied the poor wife. I must make them a sign, as well as I can, for them to make haste. Then Bluebeard bawled out so loud that he made the whole house tremble. The distressed wife came down and threw herself at her feet, all in tears, with the hair about her shoulders. All of this is no help to you, said Bluebeard. You must die. Then taking hold of her hair in one hand and lifting up the sword in the air with the other, he was about to take off her head. The poor lady, turning about to him and looking at him with dying eyes, desired him to afford her one little moment to her thoughts. No, no, said he. Commend thyself to God, and again lifting up his arm. At this moment there was such a loud knocking at the gate that Bluebeard stopped suddenly. The gate was opened, and presently entered 2 horsemen who, with sword in hand, ran directly to Bluebeard. He knew them to be his wife's brothers, one a dragoon and the other a musketeer. He ran away immediately, but the 2 brothers pursued him so closely that they overtook him before he could get to the steps of the porch. There they ran their swords through his body and left him dead. The poor wife was almost as dead as her husband's, and had not the strength enough to arise and welcome her brothers. Bluebeard had no heirs, and so his wife became mistress of all his estate. She made use of one portion of it to marry her sister Anne to a young gentleman who had loved her a long while, and another portion to buy captain's commissions for her brothers, and the rest to marry herself to a very worthy gentleman, who made her forget the sorry time she had passed with Bluebeard. Okay. So that's an uplifting story. Mother Goose had some rough ones, man. Let's try one words on stream before we're waiting to start the ferry. Let's see if we can figure out what the hell I'm doing. Oh yeah. I'm getting my shit together. Hey, Brendan, what's going on, man? You snuck in the back door. Jelly's not here to help us. We're screwed. Yeah, you've been lurking? This one's not easy. No. This one is not easy. Hey, I got one. I got one. Ooh, Jelly with the big one. Go, Jelly, go. Ooh, I got another one. I don't think we passed this one. Maybe we did. Woohoo! All right. Last reading tonight. The Fairy. Tales of Mother Goose, as collected by Charles Perrault in 1696. Once upon a time, there was a widow who had 2 daughters. Wait, did I read this one already? Oh, no, we did read this one already. We gotta go back. We gotta figure out something else. We did read this one already. So let's try. We dread so many of these. Aha, we'll do this. How many? Yeah, I can do that. Once upon a time, there was a queen who had an ugly son, so ugly and so misshapen that it was long disputed whether he had human form. I feel a little called out here. So how do you pronounce this? Riquet? With the tuft? Riquet? Let's look it up. Riquet. All right. Got it. We're ready now. Riquet with the tuft. A fairy who was at his birth said, however, that he would be very amiable for all that, since he would have uncommon good sense. She even added that it would be in his power, by virtue of a gift she had just given to them, to bestow as much sense as he pleased on a person he loved best. All this somewhat comforted the poor queen. It is true that this child no sooner began to talk than he said 1,000 pretty things, and in all his actions there was an intelligence that was quite charming. I forgot to tell you that he was born with a little tuft of hair on his head, which made them call him Riquet with the tuft, for Riquet was the family name. 7 or 8 years later, the queen of a neighboring kingdom had 2 daughters who were twins. The firstborn of these was more beautiful than the day, whereat the queen was very glad that those present were afraid of that her excess of joy would do her harm. The same fairy who was at present of the birth of the little Riquet with the tuft was also here, and to moderate the queen's gladness, she declared that this princess would have no sense at all, and she would be as stupid as she was pretty. This mortified the queen extremely, but afterwards she had far great sorrow, for the second daughter proved to be very ugly. "Do not afflict yourself so much, madam," said the fairy. "Your daughter shall have with her recompense. She shall have such a great portion of sense that the want of beauty will hardly be perceived." "God grant it," replied the queen. "But there is no way to make the eldest, who is so pretty, to have any sense? I can't do anything for her, ma'am." "As to sense," answered the fairy, "but everything as to beauty, and as there is nothing I would not do for your satisfaction, I give her the gift that she shall have power to make handsome the person who best pleases her." All right, so the ugly dude, he can make other people smart. And the good looking chick can make people good looking. Seen a trade here. As the princesses grew up, their perfections grew with them. All the public talk was of the beauty of the elder and the rare good sense of the younger. It was true that also that their defects increased considerably with their age. The younger visibly grew uglier and uglier, and the elder became every day more and more stupid. She either made no answer at all to what was asked her or said something very silly. She was withal so unhandy that she could not place 4 pieces of china on the mantelpiece without breaking one of them, nor drink a glass of water without spilling half of it on her clothes. Wow, she was fucking train wreck, man. Although beauty is a very great advantage in young people. It's you, Jelly? You're beautiful, but you spill things on yourself and break shit? Although beauty was a very great advantage in the young people, the younger sister was always the more preferred in society. People would indeed go first to the beauty and look upon her and admire her, but turn aside soon after to the wit to hear 1,000 most entertaining and agreeable things. And it was not amazing to see in less a quarter of an hour time the elder with not a soul near her and the whole company crowding around the younger. The elder, dull as she was, could not fail to notice this, and without the slightest regret would have given all her beauty to have half her sister's wit. The queen, prudent as she was, could not help reproaching her several times for her stupidity, which almost made the poor princess die of grief. Spill stuff on yourself. Jelly needs a bib. One day, as she had hidden herself in a wood to bewail her misfortune, she saw coming a very disagreeable little man, but most magnificently dressed. This was young Prince Riquet, with the tuft, who had fallen in love upon seeing her picture, many of which were distributed all over, and left his father's kingdom to have the pleasure of seeing and talking with her. Overjoyed to find her thus alone, he addressed himself to her with all imaginable politeness and respect. Having observed, after he had paid her the ordinary compliments, that she was extremely melancholy, he said to her, "And I cannot comprehend, madam, how a person so beautiful as you can be so sorrowful as you seem to be. For though I can boast of having seen a great number of exquisitely charming ladies, I can say that I have never beheld anyone whose beauty approaches yours." "You are pleased to say so," answered the princess, and here she stopped. "Beauty," replied Riquet with the tuft, "is such a great advantage that it ought to take place of all things besides. And since you possess this treasure, I can see nothing that can possibly very much afflict you." "I had far rather," cried the princess, "be as ugly as you are and have sense than have the beauty I possess and be as stupid as I am." "There is nothing, madam," returned he, "shows more than we have good sense than to believe we have none. And it is the nature of that excellent quality that more people have it, the more they believe they want it." "I do not know that," said the princess, "but I know very well that I am very senseless, and that it vexes me mightily. In that all which trouble you, madam, I can verily easily put an end to your affliction." "And how will you do that?" replied the princess. "I have the power, madam," replied Riquet of the tuft, "to give that to a person who I love best as much sense as can be had. And as you, madam, are that very person, it shall be your fault if you not have a great share of it as anyone living, provided you will be pleased to marry me." The princess was quite confused and answered not a word. "I see," replied Riquet with the tuft, "that this proposal does not please you, and I do not wonder at it, but I will give you a whole year to consider it." The princess had so little sense at the time and so great a longing to have some that she imagined the end of that year would never come, so she accepted the proposal which was made her. She no sooner promised Riquet with the tuft that she would marry him on the day 12th month she had found herself quite otherwise than she was before. She had an incredible faculty of speaking, whatever she had in her mind, in a polite, easy, and natural manner. She began at that moment a very gallant conversation with Riquet with the Tuft, which she kept up at such a rate that Riquet with the Tuft believed he had given her more sense than he had reserved for himself. When she returned to the palace, the whole court knew not what to think of a sudden and extraordinary change, for they heard from her now as much sensible discourse as they had infinitely witty phrases as they had heard stupidity and silly impertinence before. The whole court was overjoyed, beyond imagination at it. It pleased all but her younger sister because, having no longer the advantage of the respective wit, she appeared in comparison a very disagreeable and homely girl. The king governed himself by her advice, and would even sometimes hold a council in her apartment. The news of this change in the princess spread everywhere, and the young princes of the neighboring kingdoms strove all they could to gain her favor, and almost all of them asked her in marriage, but she found not one of them had enough sense for her. She gave them all hearing, but would not engage herself to any. However, there came one so powerful, so rich and so witty and so handsome that she could not help feeling a strong inclination toward him. Her father perceived it and told her she was her own mistress as to the choice of a husband, and that she might declare her intentions. She thanked her father and desired to give her time to consider it. She went by chance to walk in the same woods where she met Riquet with the Tuft, and more conveniently to think about what she ought to do. While she was walking in a profound meditation, she heard a confused noise under her feet. And there was a great many people bustling, running backward and forward, listening more attentively. She heard one say, "Bring me the pot," another, "Give me the kettle," and a third, "Put some wood on the fire." The ground at the same time opened, and she saw under her feet a great kitchen full of cooks, kitchen helps, and all sorts of officers necessary for a magnificent entertainment. There came out of a company of cooks to the number of 20 or 30, who went to plant themselves about a very long table up in the forest, with their larding pins in their hands and foxtails in their caps, and began to work, keeping time to a very harmonious tune. The princess, all astonished at this sight, asked them for who they worked. "For Prince Riquet with the Tuft," said the chief of them, "who is to be married tomorrow." The princess, more surprised than ever, and recollected all at once that it was now that day, 12th month, on which she had promised to marry Prince Riquet with the Tuft, was ready to sink into the ground. What made her forget this was when she made this promise, she was very silly, and having obtained a vast stock of sense which the prince had bestowed upon her, she had entirely forgotten the things she had done in the days of her stupidity. She continued to walk, but had not taken 30 steps before Riquet the Tuft presented himself to her, gallant and most magnificently dressed, like a prince who was about to be married. "You see, madam, I am exacting in keeping my word, and doubt not in the least that you are to come hither and perform your promise." "I frankly confess," said the princess, "that I have not yet come to a decision on the matter, and I believe I never shall be able to arrive at such a one as you desire." "You astonish me, madam," said Riquet with the Tuft. "I can well believe it," said the princess, "and surely if I had to do with a clown or a man of no sense, I should find myself very much at a loss. A princess always keeps her word," he would say to me, "and you must marry me since you promised to do so. But as he to whom I talk is the one man in the world who is the master of the greatest sense and judgment, I am sure he will hear reason. You know that when I was but a fool I could scarcely make up my mind to marry you. Why will you have me, now that I have so much judgment as you gave me, to come to a decision which I could not then make up my mind to agree to? If you sincerely thought to make me your wife, and you have been greatly in the wrong to deprive me of my dull simplicity and make me see things for more clearly than I did." "If a man of no wit and senses," replied Riquet of the Tuft, "would be well received, as you say, in reproaching you for your breach of the word, why will you not let me, madam, have the same usage in a matter wherein all the happiness of my life is concerned? Is it reasonable that persons of wit and sense should be in a worse condition than those who have none? Can you pretend this? You have so great a share and desire so earnestly to have it? But let us come to the fact, if you please. Putting aside my ugliness and deformity, is there anything in which displeases you? Are you dissatisfied with my birth, my wit, my humor, or my manners? Not at all, answered the princess. I love you and respect you in all that you mention. If it be so, said Riquet with the Tuft, I am happy, since it's in your power to make me the most amiable of men. How can that be? Said the princess. It is done, said Riquet with the Tuft, if you loved me enough to wish it was so. And that you may have no doubt, madam, of what I say, knowing that the same fairy who on my birthday gave me the gift of power for making the person who should please me witty and judicious, has in a like manner given you the power of making him whom you love, to whom you would grant the favor, to be extremely handsome. If it be so, said the princess, I wish with all my heart that you be the most lovable prince in the world, and I bestow my gift on you as much as I am able. The princess had no sooner pronounced this word than Riquet with the Tuft appeared to her the finest prince upon the earth, the handsomest and most amiable man she had ever saw. Some affirm that it was not the fairy's charms, but love alone which worked the change. They say that the princess, having made due reflection of his perseverance of her lover, his discretion and all good qualities of his mind, his wit and judgment, saw no longer the deformity of his body, nor the ugliness of his face, and that his hump had seemed no more than a grand air of one having a broad back, and that whereas till she saw him limp horribly, she now found it nothing more than a certain sidling air which charmed her. They say further that his eyes, which were squinted very much, seemed to her most bright and sparkling, and that their irregularity passed in her judgment for a mark of the warmth in his affection, and in short, that his great red nose was in her opinion some martial and heroic in character. However it was, the princess promised immediately to marry him on condition that he obtained the king's consent. The king, knowing that his daughter highly esteemed Riquet with the Tuft, whom he knew also for a most sage and judicious prince, received him for a son-in-law with pleasure. And the next morning their nuptials were celebrated as Riquet with the Tuft had foreseen, and according to the orders which had been given a long time before. Seemed pretty predictable, but it was a nice story. And that's what we've got tonight, friendos. Just some quick reading, some quick bedtime stories. I think we are going to raid into Sunshine again because she's on and see what she is up to. I will see you all tomorrow, hopefully, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to finish off reading The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. And I will see you all there. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Sleep well. And be good to each other.